Hello, and welcome to Elderly Caretaker channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're here, it's because you or someone you care about is thinking about or even facing the decision of moving into a nursing home. At first glance, it might seem like the right choice, a safe place where you can get the care you need. But the truth is, there are things that no one tells you before you make that decision. Today, I'm going to share 6 life-changing regrets I wish someone had warned me about before I moved into a nursing home. These aren't just minor inconveniences. These are life-altering lessons. I hope by sharing these, I can help you make a more informed choice for yourself or a loved one. Stay with me until the end, because you'll want to hear all of this before making such an important decision. Regret number 1. Losing my independence. Let's start with one of the biggest shocks I faced. Losing my independence. Before I moved into the nursing home, I had a life that was my own. I had my routines, my space, and my choices. I could decide when to get up in the morning, when to eat, and even when to go for a walk outside. These little decisions made me feel in control, like my life was truly mine. But once I moved into the nursing home, everything changed. The moment I entered, I realized that I no longer had control over my own life. My days were controlled by someone else's schedule. Breakfast was at a set time, whether I was hungry or not. Lights out happened at a certain hour, whether I was ready to sleep or not. And if I wanted to take a walk or step outside, I needed to wait for permission. It's not just about the small things. Even deciding what to wear or choosing what to eat began to feel like privileges instead of basic rights. It was shocking to realize that something as simple as choosing when to wake up or when to eat was now out of my hands. And the hardest part, once you give up that kind of independence, getting it back is almost impossible. You adapt because you have no choice. You stop asking for the little things and begin fitting into their schedule. But in doing so, you start to lose parts of yourself. So, I ask you, if you're considering a nursing home, are you ready to give up the small freedoms that make your life truly yours? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them more than you ever thought possible. Regret number 2. Feeling forgotten. Another painful reality is the feeling of being forgotten. When I first moved in, my family promised they would visit often. At first, they did. My daughter came by once a week, and my grandchildren visited on weekends. For a while, it felt like I still had a connection to the outside world. But as time passed, those visits became less frequent. My daughter started calling me instead of coming to visit. My grandchildren got busier with their own lives, school, work, and everything in between. It didn't take long before I found myself alone more often. Holidays were the hardest. Everyone promised they'd come, but the plans always seemed to change at the last minute. I'd sit in the common room, surrounded by other residents, and watch as we all hoped someone would remember us. It wasn't that my family didn't care about me, but life just got in the way. They were busy, and it became easy for them to assume I was fine and adjusting to my new life. But here's the truth. The longer you're in a nursing home, the easier it becomes for people to forget how much you still need them. Even though they love you, once you're out of sight, it becomes all too easy for them to forget. I remember sitting alone one evening, holding my phone, thinking about calling my son. But I didn't want to bother him. I didn't want to remind him that I was sitting here, waiting for a visit that might never come. So, I put the phone down. And that's when it hit me, this was my life now. Waiting, hoping someone would remember. So, I ask you, are you prepared for the loneliness that can come with being in a nursing home? Because no matter how much your family loves you, once you're out of sight, it's easy for them to forget just how much you need them. Regret number 3. Losing my sense of purpose. Another regret I want to share with you is losing my sense of purpose. At home, I had a reason to get up in the morning. There were things to do: watering the plants, making coffee, tidying up my space. Even those small tasks gave me a sense of purpose. They made me feel like I was still contributing to my own life. But when I moved into the nursing home, all those little tasks disappeared. Meals were brought to me, cleaning was done for me, and the plants? They weren't mine to take care of anymore. At first, I thought it would be nice to have a break from all the responsibilities, to not have to worry about daily chores. But after a few weeks, I realized something was missing. The days felt long and stretched out, with nothing to do but wait. I started to notice it in other residents too. People who had once been full of energy, always involved in something, now spent their days sitting in a common area, staring at the walls. There was no longer a sense of purpose. One person who really stood out to me was George, an 84-year-old man who had been a carpenter his entire life. At home, he used to build things, fix things around his house. But in the nursing home, there was nothing for him to work on. His hands, which used to be so skilled, now sat idle in his lap. I remember him saying one day, "I feel useless," and I knew exactly what he meant. When you lose your purpose, even in the small ways, life starts to lose its meaning. And when that happens, everything else starts to slow down too. The body follows the mind, and soon, you start to feel like just another resident in a place where time moves, but nothing really changes. So, I ask you, what gives your life meaning? What gives you a reason to keep going every day? Because once you move into a nursing home, finding purpose is not as simple as filling your time. It's about holding on to what makes you feel alive. Regret number 4. Declining health faster than expected. Now, let us talk about a reality. I wasn't prepared for how quickly my health began to decline after moving into the nursing home. Before I moved in, I was doing fairly well for my age. I could walk, take care of myself, and I had a few little routines that kept me active. I'd go grocery shopping, stretch in the mornings, and walk around the house to keep my legs strong. I wasn't in the best shape, but I was independent and able to care for myself. But when I moved into the nursing home, something changed. At first, I thought it was just a break. Meals were brought to me. I didn't have to cook anymore, and if I needed anything, all I had to do was push a button. It seemed like a relief at first, no more standing in the kitchen for hours or dealing with housework. But the longer I stayed, the more I realized that the less I did for myself, the weaker I became. I stopped moving as much. I spent more time sitting, and before I knew it, my legs started feeling stiffer. Getting up from a chair began to feel like a chore. The muscles I had spent years maintaining, working hard to keep strong, were slowly disappearing. It wasn't just me, I saw it happen to others too. People who used to walk on their own now needed wheelchairs. Some of them couldn't even get out of bed without help. The more help we received, the more we needed. I remember my neighbor, Alice, who was 81 when she moved in. She was active and lively, always insisting she wouldn't slow down just because of her age. But after a few months, I noticed she wasn't walking as much. She started using a walker, and then a wheelchair. One day, she looked at me and said, "I feel like I've aged 10 years in just a few months." And I couldn't help but agree. If I had known how quickly I would lose my strength, I would have fought harder to stay active. I would have pushed myself to keep moving in when it was hard. But in a nursing home, where everything is set up to make life easier, it's easy to forget that movement isn't just about convenience. It's about survival. So, I ask you, will you still have the motivation to stay active and keep your body strong when everything is set up to make your life effortless? Because once you slow down, it's harder than you think to get back up. Regret number 5. Loss of privacy and dignity. Another reality I didn't fully consider before moving in was the loss of privacy and dignity. At home, I had my own space. I could close the door to my room when I wanted to be alone, read my book, or simply enjoy some quiet time. But in the nursing home, privacy becomes a luxury you can't always keep. From the moment I moved in, I felt like I was constantly being watched. Staff members came in and out of my room at all hours for room checks, for cleaning, for help with anything I needed, and even simple things like getting dressed or using the bathroom. Often, those tasks required someone's assistance. I know, the staff were just doing their jobs, but it wasn't easy to ask for help for things I'd always done independently. It's humbling, and it feels like a loss of control. I remember the first time I had to ask for permission to do something as basic as taking a shower. I didn't want to burden anyone, but I couldn't do it myself. And sometimes, the wait was longer than I would have liked. Even something as simple as choosing what to eat could feel like a struggle. If you don't like the food, too bad. There's no room for choosing what's on the menu for the day. And then, of course, there's the issue of roommates. Not everyone gets a private room, and sharing a space with someone you didn't choose can be frustrating. I was lucky to have a kind roommate, but I heard stories from others who weren't so fortunate. Some had roommates who were loud, unclean, or even had cognitive issues that made sleep nearly impossible. And no matter how hard you try to make your room feel like home, it's never truly yours. Dignity is something you don't realize how much you value until it's no longer in your control. When people knock, but don't wait for an answer, when you're treated like a patient rather than a person, when your daily routines are dictated by a schedule you didn't create, it changes. You start feeling less like yourself, and more like just another name on a list. Regret number 6. Realizing it's harder to leave than you think. Now, let's talk about the final regret, one that's often overlooked. Realizing it's harder to leave than you think. When I first moved in, I thought it would be temporary. I thought I could always go back home if I didn't like it. But what I didn't realize was how hard it would be to leave once I was there. At first, it seemed easy. If I didn't like it, I'd just go back home. But things weren't as simple as that. My house had changed. My children had already started making decisions for me, selling things they thought I wouldn't need, even considering renting the house out. When I brought up the idea of returning home, there was hesitation. They asked, "Are you sure you can manage on your own? Wouldn't it be safer to stay here? We just want what's best for you." And then there was the issue of physical decline. After months of living in a place where I didn't have to cook or clean, my independence had slipped away. I wasn't as strong as I used to be, and that made the idea of living alone more difficult than I had imagined. Some people find it even harder to leave once they've been there for a while. Their homes are sold, their savings drained by the cost of care. For them, leaving isn't just difficult, it's impossible. The longer you stay, the harder it becomes to imagine life outside the nursing home. And before you know it, the life you once knew becomes a distant memory. So, I ask you, are you prepared for the possibility that once you go in, leaving might not be as easy as you think? It's a reality that most people don't consider until it's too late. Looking back, I don't regret growing older. I don't regret the journey of my life, but I do regret not fully understanding the reality of moving into a nursing home. I wish I had fought harder to stay in my own home, to explore alternatives, and to truly assess whether I needed to make such a permanent move. If you're considering a nursing home, take the time to think carefully. Ask yourself, is this truly what's best for me? Or is it just what seems easiest right now? Your life, your routines, your independence, they're worth holding onto for as long as you can. Thank you for watching today. I hope this video has given you some valuable insights. If you're facing this decision, take it slow, ask the tough questions, and make sure it's the right choice for you. Life is precious, and you deserve to live it with dignity and purpose. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who might need to hear it. Your support helps us continue to create content that truly matters. Until next time, take care of yourself and cherish the little things that make life worth living.